Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to webinar series powered by MFPC. Today's session features Mr. Pang Kayu, who is a fellow MFPC member and approved financial advisor, Bank Negara Malaysia and Securities Commission. He is currently the Executive Director of Harveston Group. Without further ado, let me invite our speaker to take over.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Well, I hope everybody safe, stay at home safe, and everybody's well. It's really a very good opportunity being offered by MFPC to organize this webinar sharing series, and it's a very short session. So now I just want to keep it short and hope that we'll be able to giving you some of the ideas, some of the changes that may be taking place, so everybody know that everybody get locked down. I think this is the fourth week. We have passed the third week. Everybody is surviving well. Yeah, so I think everybody know this word called, it's a new experience. The word is called unprecedented. Wow, everybody's very familiar with this word. That means we never, you see, in our lifespan, like myself, close to 50 years old, never in our entire life have faced this type of crisis before. And it is because of the human and health crisis that actually created everybody, need to lock down ourselves, and we can't do much except that we have to stay at home and hope that the medical professional able to fight for us, in the front line, and watching all the news that we can, So it's pretty frustrated in many ways, exhausted. All right. So I will call it this the COVID year, if I may, right? So today I would like to probably share a bit on the few area that everybody been through this. Maybe you may in many ways you may have even deeper experience and feelings and all. So we are looking at the entire these 3 or 4 weeks and all. So many are actually exhausted, and without any clear directions. Company is actually suffer day by day in terms of resources, and that's where the country is actually coming up. I mean, the government is coming up with various type of measure. All right, so I'm going to cover on that basis. So what we are looking at now is very uncertain, very fearful in many ways. And China is actually coming out from the virus, and things are taken care of, getting better. Wuhan just open up for business already. All right, so stages by stages basis, things are back to normal. It's normalizing. However, the advanced country is in a panic mode now. All right, the US, the Italy, so it's losing more life now. So I think that in many ways we felt that life is very fragile, and yet so precious to be lose out, especially our loved one. So I think a lot of deep kind of reflections and self-evaluation take place, during this period. I'm sure I'm one of them as well. What is really matters, in life, like in financial planning, I always talk about the needs versus the want. What is so important after all? I mean, we've been chasing, working, around the clock, working very hard, chasing after the wealth. But we neglected a lot of well-being, a lot of area that we should have putting more focus into it, especially the family aspect, during the lockdown. I'm sure, like as much as we have a lot of time, but we are complaining too much of time, stay home together with wife and husband, a lot of quarrel, with family, with children. You never be a house husband or even a housewife. Now you have to manage, working from home, become a house husband and housewife, so everybody looking forward, back to normal again, all right? So when you back to normal again, will the world will be the same? I think this is questions that we ponder ourselves, and everybody will talk about how can we able to balance back our life, or rather our lifestyle. Having a life without lifestyle, there's no life, right? So all this is really affecting on a day-to-day basis, what is going on. But in reality, the world after post-COVID, or rather this coronavirus outbreak, it never be the change. It never be the same again. To be very open and very frank, things have changed very rapidly, even more rapid from China. Then it flow over. China is actually started during Chinese New Year, and it's been a lockdown for two and a half months. Then, of course, Malaysia also take a very drastic measure. Then we follow through and things like that. So I think what we can learn all over. I just borrow from the Deloitte, because nowadays there are a lot of reports that are sending out freely. Then we have to pick and choose whatever is relevant. Otherwise, we are information overload. So I think this is a very good piece of information that I would like to share, from Deloitte, talking about striving in the volatile times, and telling us what is going on beside the daily basis. We are locked down at home. The whole world has changed. The entire financial system is disrupted, from this crisis. Particularly the entire business, even though you want to start business, but the whole world is not ready. You don't have resources to produce. Your supplier can't supply you goods. You can't sell. So the entire supply chain, customer engagement, financing, business continuity is in a disruption mode, from various industry, of course, like we're talking about on the left and right side. Traveling, workforce, consumer, and all whatnot. I highly recommend go website, then read this report. It's very intense. But what I highlight here, things will never be the same again. When we are talking about post-COVID, how we able to interpret the landscape of the business and the changes that have taken place, these few weeks and few days, and how this will going to affect our life. And of course, the today topic is how can we re-engage with our client again, after we learn through these 3 or 4 weeks, will this worst is over? Yet to know. Many still ponder whether tomorrow our government still would like to have extended NCO, or many have felt that is necessary. Many have said that the more we do the lockdown, the more it costing us on the economy activity, So and Ramadan month is coming, our Muslim friends will also in a way that very in the dilemma mode, how we're going to celebrate, things like that. So that will actually is not a one-off kind of episode, or is a problem solved, So this will carry on. So a lot of analysts and even health specialists are predicted it's probably going to drag on until June to August, to that extent. So the implication, what I like to highlight here, for sure, this will be definitely going to hit the market. When I say market, means there are 2 markets, yeah. There's one capital market, the other one will be financial market, all right. So capital market being the share market, yeah, the investment market itself. the confidence of the investors is being challenged, and people are rather holding cash, switch into safe haven kind of asset class like US dollar, gold, and all that kind of situation. So that will massively get affected. Then it actually lead into the entire fundamental of the economy. All right. But what I like to highlight here, very important key words, what causes this crisis? This is not a financial crisis like back in '97. Like some of you, some of the old members, just like my age, been surviving through at least 2 to 3 crises already. Like many of the young, probably will be young member. This may be your first one, because all these crises, if you learn the situation, what's the cause of the crisis itself, like Asian financial crisis is because of the speculation of the in the Asian currency, all right, causes the US dollar borrowing from most of the businesses, it causing bigger issue, it's the Asian financial crisis. So it's a debt crisis, is the currency crisis. So, and moving forward to 2008, the last 10 years kind of cycle, the Lehman crisis, we call it global financial crisis. That is related to debt crisis, subprime mortgages, Again, this is more relevant to the Western world that, and rampantly printing out money and saving all these financial giant. And this is regarding what? Debts, credits, and it's real financial crisis. But in this round, coronavirus crisis is because of the lockdown, restriction of movement and activity, that the normalized economy activity cannot be performed. I think this is very important. So if you understand that, that means before in January, December, things are pretty rosy. In fact, we see in financial world, or capital market world, we feel that this is a very good chance for a good year, business are doing well and things like that. So because of the virus, that it corrected the entire mode of the situation altogether. So what I like to highlight here, if you can contain and able to get the solution or the vaccine or what will to stop the virus to spread, and more life to save, things are settled like what China is going. So China, the economy definitely is picking up. So when I say market is back, it means what? Share market will come back first before the real fundamental of the economy market. So investment market is ahead, at least 6 months in ahead of the actual economy activity on the market. So what I highlight here, what I say just now, financial market will be a bit lag. Capital market will spearheading the recovery faster. So what I highlight here in the layman way, share market will bounce back much faster than the actual economy recovery. Okay, why I say so? Very important. This round, unanimously, concurrently, every central bank in the whole world, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, US, put up trillion. Now you're talking about 2 trillion. In Obama era, the safety previous wealth, this global financial crisis, it just cost him 700 billion only. So now it's 2 trillion, all right? Malaysia, during the Asian financial crisis, Mahathir just borrowed 25 to 30 billion only, to save the crisis. Now we raise what, 250 plus 10, 260 B, So with all this money in place, right? So be mindful, things will turn out much better eventually when we're able to contain the market. I think this is a very important signal. If you're coming from investment background, right? So you may want to help your client to position the client portfolio at this juncture. I think it's very important, all right? So I move on. So the other part is things may change. A lot of borrowing to ease off the businesses, So I don't touch on so much on the Prihatin part. I think unanimously, the government is very very concerned on to laying off any employee, at this juncture. So it shows that it's not going to be that bad. It's been cushioned, at least 3 to 6 months. So the financial aspect, even though it's lagged, but is well taken care of in many ways. Like premium has been deferred. All right. There are a lot of subsidy, a lot of I would say allowances that are given now. Company, this insurance company come up with various type of measure. All right. Even talking about a COVID test is subsidizing as well, so long as you've been consulted by the physician, then you can actually seek for tests and things. All this measure has been putting the system in place. So what I like to highlight here, this part, financial and capital market is pretty much intact. In fact, things may be better off, certainly better off when it bounces back. So another thing that it has changed our way of life is the digital world. Like now, between now, even though we are social distancing, but I'm so close to you, I can actually share my idea with you. We've been going Zooming, webinar, Skype, whatever form of sharing, so has been going on for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So e-wallet, e-commerce, so like everybody's get locked down. So the Grab Food is, Food Panda has been doing very well. All right. So things have changed. The entire model have changed. So what I highlight here, post-COVID, this way of life will be changed back to the original way. Some will, but many have changed in a different form. So the financial, I would say, sectors, has been replaced by fintech kind of challenges. People say it take a while to transform. I would say the transformation is even on the rapid mode. So the way I look at it, e-learning, e-training, e-commerce, whatever e-related. So I think the 5G technology will be, taking care in a very, very strong way. So what I like to highlight here, whoever they're able to adapt and adopt to the changes will able to do very well and taking opportunity what is required. All right, so I quickly want to actually draw your attention, go to the other part of my sharing, the 7 steps that we put in place, how we can actually engage with the client. So in this slide, so giving you an idea, I think we have to stay agile and stay relevant to the changes taking place in the market. Yes, if we are going through a very stressful moment, we call it a stress test for us. In many ways, any crisis is a stress test. Either it's a financial stress test or an emotional stress test. Unfortunately, these come both this round, big way. So whoever they're able to manage it well and able to manage with the client, I think we have an edge over that. Especially we are in the practice. I think this is a chance that we have to do our part. We've been trained very well by MFPC. This is our mother body that giving us the qualification and telling us how to plan the financial well-being for ourselves and for our client. And this is the time that we have to engage with our client to show our care, to show our sincerity, how we can actually help them to move over from this crisis itself. So I think this is the very important aspect that I would like to share for the rest of the 10 minutes. Because it's a very simple kind of approach that has been very benefited in our practice. Whether you are a financial advisor or insurance advisor or unit trust advisor, it doesn't matter, because you always go back to the fundamental, the 6-step process. All right, understand the client needs, and we move on. So I think in this context itself is very important. We want to see what is the core issue, whether the client able to pull through this round or not? What is the most concerned area? Like the country had taken care 6 months of the finances. All right, insurance premium may differ for the next 3 to 6 months. But then, what happened after 6 months? You know, maybe these are some of the concerns that they may have. We have to actually show our care using various kind of medium. All right, it's easier to actually give them a WhatsApp, go on a Zoom, and profile your client, and it's time to do a review. Each and every client that you have engaged with them in the past, because without them, without you, to be very frank, I think this should be the time of testing our sincerity and our efforts, that how we appreciate their support, you know, in those years that when you started. And I think how small the client is worth your efforts to actually stay engaged with them. So I think this is a very important period of time to understand what is their concern and issue. So I would rather put it very simple. Identify and understand the client core issue and concern at this juncture. Say, for instance, some client that probably want to send the kids to overseas, you know, for the next 6 months' time. It may contemplating whether should they actually send the kids now, because the whole world is actually in a chaotic situation, and many are anti-Asian because they've thought that the virus is from China, is from Asia. All right. So if is it safe to send your kids there, whether the money is enough or not, because ringgit is been badly devalued in many ways. So should you actually set aside into a safe haven or maybe a fixed income portfolio and not to expose to any currency kind of risk? I think this is some of the issue. I'm just giving you some idea. At the interest of time, I would like to share a few sort of profile of client that, because their concern and objective may change, you know. So when they have changed because of the bigger environment, do you really understand them, or they become a different person after all already? And whoever that can actually put a concern and open their sincerity to assist the clients will end up with the other side of the planners or the bankers or the advisor. And also, I think it's important to play up the value of the training that we have in the past, that I think do an extra mile. Is the emotional bank account, you know, very important. Don't cash out, it's a cash in time, and also you have to deposit those aspects itself. So what I highlight here, there are 4 categories of profile of client that may change. Some of the client may feel that I call them how much is enough, you know. So they're contemplating, should I actually continue the business? Business may not able to survive. I think I will call it a day, all right? Early retirement, no? You see or not? So this is some of the clients that may face a very adverse kind of challenges. Would they able to pull through, or will they able to raise enough funds to continue? I think this is what top one, you know, forced to have early retirement, forced to close up. All right, they are unable to transform already, maybe. This is a very bad way to end the, but in reality, life go on. If it's your client, how should you advise them? All right. Type 2, I would say, very tough guy. Maybe the up is a middle age, you know, been through the crisis. He said, I want to take the war, face the challenge. I want to transform and rebuild my empire again. Never mind, I will probably dash down, take the cut, 20, 30%, 50%, doesn't matter. I think I'm going to pull through. And many of these SME and bosses, in fact, sole proprietor are in this area. I think this is a very important that you categorize your resources and clientele, that focus into the area that they want you to help them. And it shows that you are there. It may not able to transact, it doesn't matter. But most important thing, they know during the bad time, you are able to actually giving them the umbrella. Very important. All right. So it's a thunderstorm, it's a heavy rain. Will you give them the umbrella, or will you pour cold water to them? You see or not? So I'm sure a lot of time we don't do that. All right. But I think in reality, this is the challenges of our client that are going to face for it. So if they want to take the challenge, how much ammunition or bullets or cash flows and all, how they can contain those resources, then pull through and turn around. What other strategy, or even now we are talking about building the strategic alliance, the entire supply chain, like the Cameron Highland, farmer, they need the middleman to sell their vegetable, but now the vegetable able to deliver at the doorsteps, and they actually building up together with the logistic guy, teaming up to be a strategic alliance to transform the business model. I've been enjoying fresh vegetable at home. No, of course at the premium price, but this is agile and able to change the entire business model altogether. And number three is what? Sufficiently. The third one, the fourth one perhaps is business as usual. This is the cream of the crop. So a lot of businesses may not get affected, In fact, it's booming. Healthcare is booming. IT is booming. Online is booming. So all this industry is even more business now, all right? And it will giving them a more opportunity. So if you not actually putting your efforts and care about them, and many times they'll be well served by other advisors as well. So what I like to highlight here, at this juncture, there are a lot of category of clients that may end up changing in a many different way, and we have to be sensitive with the overall environment and get ready, to serve them well. And it's hard to get a new client, all right, rather than to maintain and service the original client, or rather the existing client, and help them to grow with them. I think this is a better way, in our line of business. And one few last point, you see a lot of time, we receive a lot of information at this point in time. If you don't do the filtering and understanding and value adding, you just post it to your client. The client, how the client look at you a lot of time. I also receive tons of information, all right, WhatsApp, email, and whatever. So we ourselves have to actually decide and do the filtering. And in many ways, we want to interpret the right message, the relevant message, simplify to the client to make informed decision, so that it will lead them, relevant to them, not overloaded with a lot of information, all right? So I think client need that kind of quality of advisor to handhold them at this point in time. And after that, all right, after thunderstorm, you'll see rainbow. Correct or not? After rainbow, you see sunshine. Sunshine is definitely there, all right? It is going to be a very critical time, I know, but we have to demonstrate to the client that our services, our care is always there, all right? I think this is the message that I like to highlight here. Things have transformed. Don't look at it as a financial crisis. It's never a financial crisis. It's a human crisis. It's a health crisis, but it affects the systematic fundamental of the economy. However, with the tons of money that raised up now, with the government, they're giving a lot of support, all right? So things can be pulled through very quickly, all right? So don't still stay, I would say stay positive is very important. So if because you see a lot of time when you actually meet up with client, they tend to actually share a lot of negative things and all. They also want somebody positive to influence them to make their day better, So if you say something negative, then you tend to agree. So it's a spiral kind of negativity, So we get sucked in, all right? And in many ways, it doesn't add value altogether. It cannot move on, all right? I think it's a moving on. So be a member of MFPC, member holding the title of RFP. I think it's a mark that we have to show to the Malaysian general market that we have to safeguard their well-being, the financial well-being. Be the well-being advisor. I think this is very important. All right. So so I end my sessions. Stay calm, stay at home, and stay connected with the client. So I'll be ready to take some questions. Now you may have some questions. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Thank you.
We have a question from the participant. Okay. Question 1. I work in one of the intermediaries. The MCO requires everyone to stay at home to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Yeah. How can this be achieved if the markets remain open and intermediaries have to operate? So first.
Okay. What's the question? The later part I can't hear. Can you repeat for me? Yeah.
The MCO requires everyone to stay at home to prevent the spread of COVID-19. How can this be achieved if the markets remain open and intermediaries have to operate?
I think okay, this is a very good question. In fact, never in the entire life we face this and all. So in fact, maybe tomorrow they're able to have a clearer view. But my sense of interpreting how this may take shape, in many ways, we can always look at what China is being transformed, or rather, because they are ahead of us at least about a month or two, all right? So whatever things that happen there, in many ways, even WHO is making reference, and central bank is making reference of China model, how to contain and combating the virus and reviving the economy. I think this is very important. So long, short question, it may not be immediate, like open kind of model that let everybody go back to work again. This is insane. If ever this thing may help, very soon we will lock down for another 2 months, all right? So I think it's by phases. I think government have actually sending out a signal that area that is not been contaminated or been spread is a very clean area. Activity should be able to allow to contain. However, with what? With very cautious and careful kind of hygiene. Social distancing is still a must, the way I look at it, all right? So, so I think that part will able to allow economy activity to be conducted in a without disrupted way, all right? And you need to print out something from the office, so you need to go to the bank to transact or whatnot. So I think all this need to be actually giving a provision, all right? But never abuse, all right? For the personal kind of interest, I think that will be a very good measure, all right? Yeah.
Okay, this is a final question. Okay, what are the obligations financial advisory companies have to their employees in situation like the threat of COVID-19?
Okay, this is a very good question. I can't answer for all. In this juncture, I think the government have actually expressed their sympathy and I would say help. In many ways, they are talking about subsidizing some of the I would say the wage, or rather salary, the basic salary of some of the smaller outfit of the SME and whatnot. So I think that part is taken care of. But on the other hand, the company also need to show the care and concern on the health and the nature of work, how they can able to continue perform their duty without taking excessive risk, all right? So in many ways, probably like some of my peers and colleagues and all, and having probably half working kind of group A and group B, and also we staggered kind of I would say operating kind of hours and all. So it spread out the crowded, everybody in the office then may not able to may increasing the risk and things like that. So so that's one. The other thing is probably we are talking about realign back the essential area. You know, how can we leverage on the IT and the digital kind of aspect? So in like in financial world and services, fintech is ready. Some in many ways has been a lot of online submissions, portal and whatnot. I think we have not been fully utilized all these resources in a big way yet. So I think it's time for us to revisit back all these areas that it can be actually reducing the work in many ways. And of course the last part will be the working at home. You know, so those team that probably stay at home, they may not on holiday. They may probably perform the duty at home as well. So I think this may transform the way of working. You know, not just in financial services, it can be any other industry. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there'll be the final question. Yeah. So this will be the end of this session, and we would like to invite for tomorrow's session at 2 p.m., which is from Encik Anwar regarding this COVID webinar session. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.